new raw materials for these vehicles. And the best batteries right now from a power density standpoint, and so that's the amount of power that the battery can have per unit weight. Weight's important. You know, the more the battery weighs, the shorter your range, and then you need more power in a bigger battery. Those are nickel metal cobalt batteries. The cobalt is a tough item. A lot of the cobalt comes from the Congo, and that's a tough place to be mining. There's a lot of issues with that. So there is some, infrastructure problems right now with saying, could we ramp up to 5 or 6 or 7 order of magnitudes more battery production than we have right now? There's a lot of research being done to try to avoid that. There are some cheaper alternatives that don't involve cobalt. The most popular right now is lithium iron phosphate battery. It's not quite as power dense, but it's considerably cheaper. It works great. So we're sitting in the U.S. We always joke about that, a weekend drive in the U.S. might be from Dallas to Lubbock.
Right.
A weekend
6 hours.
drive. Yeah. A weekend drive in the EU might be from the Eiffel Tower to the other side of town, right? So a lithium ion phosphate battery in that type of application isn't too big of an issue. It doesn't have the range, but I don't need the range. I can, I do a few hundred miles in a week. My commute's 180 miles a day. And, I want that better battery, but, we do have an issue with materials. The industry's aware of that. Like I said, from a recovering material standpoint, we're generating a lot of capacity, but that's really not going to be needed for 5 or 10 years. If you look at the aerospace application, obviously even more demanding application, right? Don't want to be up in the air or run out of juice. That's probably not the ideal case. So, you're going to be using the highest end batteries possible because, you got to overcome the weight of the battery. So you want the best power density possible. So right now you would be talking the nickel metal cobalt batteries. There's research being done in solid state batteries that'll improve that power density even more. It's the battery technology is one of the big limiters here, and on what we can do and what applications will work. And then we also have to look at the safety implications of using lithium batteries in those types of more critical applications like flight. If you do have a battery episode due to damage in a vehicle, you pull off, you get out of your car, and it's terrible if the car burns, but I just got to pull off the road and get away from the car. Obviously, that happens in an airborne situation, a much different scenario.
Right.
And so, we're addressing those as fast as we can. The Holy Grail is a very safe battery with tremendous power density that's cheap. Yep. And it's still the Holy Grail. It's out there buried somewhere. We can't find it.
We're not there, but you're even saying even lithium right now to recycle a lithium battery is not an easy process. I mean, they're combustible. They're easily combustible.
From a supply chain standpoint, we're developing a lot of capacity for recycling the batteries. But, it's kind of, we go back to your cell phone. If I don't get the cell phone, I can't recycle it. Well, these vehicle batteries, whether they be for flight applications or for vehicles, they're a lot bigger, they're a lot heavier, and they tend to be more spread out. They don't tend to be consolidated necessarily in one location. So from a standpoint of getting them to the recycling, we have a couple issues. One is we do have the issue that from the Department of Transportation perspective, when you're transporting these batteries, you're transporting a hazard because it could cause a fire. You have to be careful about how it's handled and packaged.